So you're planning to marry your partner and build a life together down under? That's fantastic. The Prospective Marriage Visa is your ticket. But let's be honest, figuring out the eligibility can feel a little overwhelming. In this explainer, we're going to cut right through all that official jargon and give you a clear, simple checklist. Okay, so the official name for this is the Subclass 300 visa. Think of it as step 1. It's a temporary visa that gets you into Australia so you can marry your partner. Once you're married, you can then apply for a more permanent partner visa. We're going to walk through the official rules straight from the Department of Home Affairs so you know exactly what they're looking for. Here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about what this visa is really for. Then, we'll get into the nitty-gritty about you and your sponsor. After that, we'll cover the background checks, your commitments to Australia, and wrap it all up with the most important things to remember. Ready? Let's dive in.
Right, Section 1. At its heart, this visa has one very specific purpose: to allow you to come to Australia to get married. But before we get any further, there's one massive rule you have to know right from the get-go.
This one is a biggie, and it's non-negotiable. You, the person applying, have to be physically outside of Australia when you submit your application. This goes for any family members you're including, too. It's what's known as an offshore visa, and there are no exceptions to this.
Now for the most important part of your application, the requirements for both you and your partner, who will be your sponsor. This is absolutely a team effort, and the government is looking closely at both of you. As you can see, it's a two-way street. Both of you need to be at least 18, and you must have met in person. For you, the applicant, you've got to be offshore and have a sponsor. For your partner, they need to be an Australian citizen, a permanent resident, or an eligible New Zealander. And they also have to go through a whole separate process just to be approved as your sponsor. It really is a partnership.
So, what does personally known to each other actually mean in the government's eyes? Well, it's pretty specific. You have to have physically met, face-to-face, after you both turned 18. A relationship that's only ever been online just won't cut it. It's also great to know that this visa applies to all relationships, same sex or different sex. And remember, that sponsorship application from your partner is a totally separate but crucial step.
And just to really hammer this point home, the age requirement. You both have to be at least 18 years old when you apply. Simple as that. All right, so once you've proven your relationship is the real deal, the government starts looking into your personal history. This breaks down into 3 main areas: your health, your character, and your immigration history. Now, Australia has some pretty strict health standards for anyone wanting to come into the country. So you're probably asking, what's actually involved in this health check? The basic rule is simple. You and anyone else applying on your visa have to meet the health standard. But here's an interesting detail you might miss. Sometimes, the department might ask for health info about family members who aren't even applying with you, just so they have the full picture. Okay, so that's health. But just as important is what they call the character check. This is another area the government takes very, very seriously. This character requirement kicks in for everyone on the application who is 16 or older. The department will look into your past, and this is critical. If you've ever had a visa canceled or refused before, it could seriously affect your chances. Having a clean immigration record is a huge plus. Okay, we've covered your relationship and your personal background. The very last set of checks is all about your financial situation with the Australian government and your understanding of Australian values. Think of this as your final to-do list. First, if you owe any money to the Australian government, you've got to pay it back, all of it. Second, you'll need to read a booklet called Life in Australia. And third, you'll have to sign the Australian Values Statement, which is basically your promise to respect the country's laws and way of life. And they are not kidding around about that debt rule. It doesn't just apply to you, it applies to your family members too, even the ones who aren't applying for this visa. Any outstanding debt has to be cleared before your visa can even be considered. Phew, we have covered a lot of ground. So let's take a breath and just quickly recap the absolute most important things. These are the points you cannot, under any circumstances, get wrong. Think of this as your final pre-application check. You have to be offshore, you both have to be over 18, you must have met in person, your sponsor has to be eligible, and you can't have any debts to the government. If you can tick every single one of these boxes, you're in a really good spot. Lastly, I want to share this quote directly from the Department of Home Affairs because it's a serious point. While you and your partner have to be over 18, if you're including any children on your application, the government's #1 priority will always be what's in the best interest of that child. It's a responsibility they take incredibly seriously. And there you have it, the official eligibility checklist for the Prospective Marriage Visa. Now that you understand these core requirements, you can start putting together your application with a lot more confidence. So, armed with all this knowledge, the real question is, what's your next step on your journey to joining your partner in Australia?